28. 28 is the magical number. Is that the song? Isn't there a song about a magical number?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know.
I have no
Somebody
idea.
please tell me what there's a song where it talks about no, is it one? No, one. I'm thinking of that song. One is the loneliest number. That's what.
One is the
That's what I'm
loneliest
thinking
number.
of. God, I wasn't even close to 28. Wow.
No, not at all.
But
luckily, though,
yeah,
we're not alone because we do this show together.
yeah.
And this is, of course, Chasing Labels, episode number 28. Man, it's been a bit of a quick week.
Yeah.
I don't know if because it was the holiday for a lot of people here or what it was, but it felt like a quick week for me.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Maybe a little longer for you.
It's been quick. I guess in a sense it's been quick because I've worked the whole time and I'm tired and yeah, I'm prepared for this episode.
I know.
Not really.
It feels weird. You're not really. It feels, time displacement when it comes to holidays always get me.
Well,
Like I thought the day after Thanksgiving was like Monday.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't realize it was Friday.
But before we get any further, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. Pretty low key, pretty small. It used to be a bigger thing when I was a kid. Big family gathering. Now it's kind of, evolved or devolved into a much smaller gathering because, time and things change and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was yours?
Good. Yeah, I mean, we got the in-laws together for the first time for a holiday. I mean, we've definitely hung out, obviously, together, but it's the first time I've gotten my wife's parents over with my parents to do a holiday thing, and it was good. Everybody gets along well, and that's always good to see when the in-laws are getting along with your parents. So. And the food was good. My mom did all the cooking. It was I'm a big fan of deviled eggs. I ate about
I did not know
about
that.
20 of them, roughly.
I was just gonna ask you what was the
What was the menu?
The menu.
Well, we
the
had
traditional.
well, it's pretty
stuff?
traditional. Yeah, like turkey, ham, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, corn, sweet potatoes. And then like there was a few different pies like pumpkin pie, chocolate pudding pie,
Ooh.
there was a banana nut cream or something like that. So yeah, it was good stuff.
Nice. Sounds like a delicious time.
It was. I
Oh, what a
was
terrible
pretty
pun.
tired after.
Oh, I bet you are. But I was not tired enough because I delve into a bunch of the stuff we're going to talk about this week. Well, at least I tried to, but
Yeah, I didn't get it. I
time is
haven't
what
seen
it
a lot
is.
of this stuff. I'm going to do my best to have something to say, but unfortunately I had no time this week. So
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a lazier week, I think, for both of us. But what is not lazy is getting into kind of a little, I don't know, housekeeping, a little,
Yeah.
not announcement, but just something I think people should be aware of for now and for the future, because I think this thing is something.
Well, I
that's
think
going to be
everybody's pretty aware
continuous.
of this at the moment. We're a
Right.
little late on it.
It's a hot button thing.
We're a
hot
little
button thing.
behind on this one because it's been out. It's been about almost a week since it's been talked about, but we weren't. It happened right
Right.
after our last episode dropped, so we couldn't talk about it. So, but
Yeah, it came up right afterward. So basically, we talked about one of the biggest releases, I think, of the year, or anticipated release for a lot of people, was the Citizen Kane 4K UHD edition from Criterion. It was part of their initial big slate of 4K releases that people were waiting for. And unfortunately, when it comes to that release, there's a bit of a problem with it. And the problem seems to not lie with the 4K disc itself, but with the Blu-ray disc that is the disc 2 of that set,
Yeah.
but the disc 1 of the regular Blu-ray set. And from what I understand, from what I read from reviews and what people talking about, is about 30 minutes into the movie, Citizen Kane, for some reason there is a bit of a technical glitch where the brightness or something like that just dims
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And it's not supposed to be like that. So what Criterion has done is you can get a replacement disc.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of ways to do it. It is on their website, so you can go to their website and they'll give you all the instructions you can. But just in a nutshell, there's two options. One is you can, I'll just read this straight up. The one option is break or cut the disc in half, Then take a photo of the unplayable disc with your name and the date written on a slip of paper, included in the image, and email the photo to orders@criterion.com. Be sure to include a mailing address that will be valid for the next 1 to 2 months, obviously. Please use Citizen Kane BD replacement as the subject line. That's, so you don't have to physically mail the disc if you don't want to. The second option is, in fact, mailing the disc. Mail the disc back to us. Please be sure to include your name and mailing address with your copy of Citizen Kane Blu-ray Disc 1 only. You don't need to send any other packaging when it comes to the release or anything like that. And you send it to Criterion Collection, attention John Mulvaney, who handles all the customer service stuff, /Kane, 215 Park Avenue, Park Avenue South, 5th floor, New York, 10003. That's the zip code. There's no need to protect the disc in any way, because I'm pretty sure they're just going to throw them out anyway, or destroy them. And please do not send the packaging or other discs, as we will not be replacing complete sets. When we ship your replacement disc, we'll include a $10 gift certificate to Criterion.com inside the mailer. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us at orders@Criterion.com. Our apologies for this inconvenience, and thanks as always for your support. And that's kind of how that rolls. So they caught this right away, which was really nice. They caught this even like the day before this was supposed to technically hit shelves. And it is a bit, a lot of people are upset because of the inconvenience of the whole thing and all this kind of stuff. But what more do you want them to do other than replace the disc?
At least they're replacing it. I mean, it's one of them things is I think like a lot of things in life, we get a little complacent. We get a little bit, we take things for granted, and we got to remember that what these boutique labels do, that we send them our hard-earned money. They're doing us a great service by getting these films, in the best quality possible, and then doing all the features and all these things. So, this is just a thing we don't, these are things that we don't necessarily need in our lives, but they're things that we want. So don't cry. Just send the disc, break the disc, send a picture in, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I didn't cry. Yeah, it wasn't a brightness issue. It was a contrast issue at the 30-minute mark. Just want to clear that up. But I mean, if you haven't ordered it yet, I mean, I would probably wait, because they're probably going to be reprinting the set.
I know probably a lot of the stocks all got sent back. So
yeah, and I'm pretty sure this. I'm assuming logically this affects the Blu-ray release as well, because I'm assuming it's the same exact disc that they put in the 4K set that's in the regular Blu-ray set. So I'm pretty sure that applies for both. But check your discs anyway. Always check to make sure, see what's going on. But yeah, that is super, super unfortunate, especially for me, because I said that this is one of the biggest releases ever for me personally, and I'm gonna wait, I guess, until
it's gonna be. It'll be around
until they. I'm hoping that, since you said they pulled the stock, they're probably gonna be putting out second printing sets of these, similar to what they did with the Brian De Palma, movie, Dressed to Kill, a few years ago, when they put out that Blu-ray. The first printing of that Blu-ray had some type of glitch or some type of problem with it. I don't remember what it was, and they reissued that edition right away for a second printing. So if you have that movie, Dressed to Kill, Criterion edition from a few years ago, if you look in the fine print in the back underneath where it has all those tech specs, it's got like the copyright and all that nonsense. It'll say first printing, it'll say second printing on it. Second printing is the one you want. So if you're buying it secondhand, make sure you check it. If you're buying it on eBay, even if you're getting it from Amazon, who knows if they got old stock lying around, for all we know. But that is unfortunate, but
it happens.
Just want to make people aware of that, because I know a lot of people probably bought this. This was probably a big, big thing for them. So that is what it is. Moving on now to our regular slate, our regular portion of our show. And what do you want to hit first, Steven?
Well,
you want to hit one thing we didn't cover last week? Or?
Yeah, let's so Severin, we know Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, and as we're talking now, this is the last day on them sales. I think maybe Vinegar Syndrome's actually running through tomorrow. I might have seen something say that they're running through Monday. You might want to check that.
I'll check it.
But
right now. Actually, I'll check my email because
Check your email. But
they send
either
me their
way,
newsletters.
so last time when we did our last episode, we were able to talk about briefly because we hadn't really seen much of the slate, but Severin's, Severin likes to build up their release, up until the sale starts, and they had one more title that he hadn't announced yet before we had done our episode, and then like the next day they announced it, which ended up being Night of the Demon. Which is not the one that Indicator put out. This is a whole other one.
Yeah.
This is from
You would be surprised how many horror movies have the same exact name.
Yeah.
It makes I'll tell you, it makes it really tough when you're going to watch some of these movies and you got to look up to make sure it's the right director, the right year.
Yeah.
Sometimes movies will even have the same name and came out the same year.
Yeah.
That's how annoyingly close a lot of these movies tend to be.
But this is
Night of the Demon.
1983, I think is the year it
Okay.
came out, and this is a movie about Bigfoot. This is one of the video nasties that Severin's known for bringing out of the woodworks and giving them a good upgrade, and this one's got a new 2K restoration from a 35 millimeter answer print, so that's and apparently 5.5 hours of special features on 2 discs. So a big,
that's a lot.
That's a lot of stuff. And I actually listened to the recent Severin's film podcast where they talked about all these releases and stuff, and they it was a good time listening to them talk about this release. And funny enough, I did decide today to buy this because I'm really
see, you didn't even tell me that.
I have
news.
seen. Oh, I know, I just left it for the show, but I have seen
Nice.
this movie, and it is hilarious for how crazy it is, and it's mostly known for Bigfoot ripping off some dude's dick, which is hilarious.
Happens.
And it happens. It does happen sometimes.
If you run into Bigfoot, he's gonna rip.
He's gonna rip
off.
whatever he sees
mean,
off.
Yeah.
And
So it's you gotta stay out of the woods.
Stay out of the woods, please,
and then you'll be all right.
Yeah,
nature's not typically your friend. It's not.
Well, it is. It
not
gives
there
us
to cook
oxygen.
you. That's true. It's mostly trees that give you oxygen.
That
I'm
is
talking
nature.
like nature, like animals and
Sure.
Sure.
All right,
mountains.
All
and
right,
stuff.
guy that
Anywho.
that stays inside most. I get it.
Oh yeah.
But the
I live in a state that has oceans, not woods.
No.
But whatever.
But I decided to get the bundle for the demon bundle, which is about $109, and it comes with a poster, a patch, a sticker of him holding the penis in his hand. And also the patch has that famous kind of walk away of the Bigfoot walking away, and he has the dick in his hand. And he has the dick in his hand. It also comes with the action figure, like a standee, and then it has the novel, and then it has a keychain, and it has a pin. So it comes with a lot of cool stuff. So
I'm looking at it right now. It is limited to 300, so you're one of the lucky 300, I guess.
Well, I mean, I know some of this stuff was sold separately. Like, I think the figure was sold separately, and I think it's already sold out through the separate line. And I'm sure some of this stuff might get sold, like the novel, I think, is getting sold separately. But this bundle as a whole, is only 300. So,
that's one cool thing with Severin is they do sell some like novelty trinket stuff separately. Yeah. Like you were saying, they do sell like a Night of the Demon Bigfoot mask.
Yeah, that mask. Yeah, it's already sold out. They only made 26 of them. So yeah.
And the statue or the figure is also sold out, but they titled it the Dick Demon. That's what they called the statue. Well played. Night of the Demon enamel pin. The book, the poster you can get, and the book you can get. Keychain you can get, and patch you can get as well. But this stuff must be super limited.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to get I think it'll be probably a minute before I get this in the mail. That's what happened last time. It took about a month or so before, because I got so many orders in. But I'll be excited to get this in the mail and stick my dick sticker somewhere on my desk or something.
Whoa. Freudian slip.
But I've seen that. I've seen the movie, and it's
Oh,
and
good.
of course I've seen it, and it was really rough. Like it was hard, not a good quality.
When
Um,
when did you see it? Just out of curiosity.
just recent. I just watched it a couple
Oh,
days
okay.
ago. Yeah.
I thought you had seen it like years ago, and I'm like,
No,
oh, that's
no.
interesting
I watched it a couple days
discovery
ago.
of you.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Um, it's not the best movie, but it's
As many of these films tend to not be.
not the best movie. But it's one of them things where it's got a lot of camp value that I like. It's something. It's in my ballpark. So, and it's got this iconicness
Nice.
to it.
Nice.
So yeah.
But moving from Severin to Vinegar Syndrome, as we talked about last week, they announced a lot of their mystery titles the day of the sale.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much a kind of build up. It was like, hey, it's coming. Better keep your eyeballs peeled for what we are going to show you on sale date or when it goes live, which was, I think, 12:01 Eastern time on
Friday.
Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, or Thanksgiving.
Friday morning, literally.
Yeah.
But there's a few titles here. Steel and Lace, Ebola Syndrome, which is getting a 4K which got a 4K UHD release. TC 2000 from 1993, and then a Tiger Claws trilogy. And there's also a couple more titles here. There is a Satanic Horror Night, right or right?
Right.
I can't tell with that Gothic title.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't tell with the Gothic
RITE.
The Gothic.
Right.
Yeah, the Gothic font always throws me off. It's like, what are we in medieval times? But I think you said that was a kind
It's
of
like they call it like a
montage.
mixtape. It's like
Yes.
like a compilation of like weird like kind of like exploitation horror.
effed up stuff.
Yeah, fucked
I'm
up
assuming.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It says Smut Without Smut, Satanic Horror, right. And it's got a picture of what I can only assume is a demon on the front.
I guess. I mean,
A demon or the devil. And then next is a movie called Summer of Fear, which has a really cool cover of like a skeleton, like with a paintbrush that's painting in a black and white picture of a woman.
yeah.
And that's kind of cool. The one thing is with Vinegar Syndrome titles, their covers are awesome. Covers
Oh yeah,
are so cool.
they put so much into packaging now, and I don't know if you've recognized this, but this is a Wes Craven film.
Oh, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
an early Wes
nice.
Craven film. It's a TV movie.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I didn't know. I didn't notice it. So, and then after that is a bit of a different. It's not quite a release in quotes. It's something that is for a release or can be a release. It's kind of a hybrid, and that is the Rudy Ray Moore collection,
Yeah.
or the films of Rudy Ray Moore. Basically, you can either buy this box with really fantastic cover art, and you put all the movies that they've released from Rudy Ray Moore in the set, or you can buy this with the box and the 4 movies that they've released by Rudy Ray Moore.
But yeah,
And that really all depends on, what you have, what you don't have, and how much you want to spend.
yeah, I
You know,
think it's
the box itself is $15.
I think
All
it's a
the 4
nice
movies with
option
it,
for
it's like
people that
$70.
have already invested in the films from Vinegar Syndrome, and now they're deciding to, hey, we'll make you a box for them.
Yeah.
And that you can
Yeah,
buy
we'll
them
make you a
buy
cool
it separately
box for
instead of just having to rebuy it all, again.
Yes.
Which is something, and I'm not being a dick. I'm bringing it back to Dick Demon. But I'm not. But Arrow has been doing that. They have had movies that they've already released, and now they're re-releasing them in box sets. But you're having to buy the movies again. So instead of doing what
we call that
you know,
double dipping.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
For a lot of people, triple, quadruple dipping. I've seen that done a lot.
Yeah,
where
it's happening a
if-
lot.
if-
Yeah. So I
if
think
you
that's
want
a
specific
very
packaging-
nice move by Vinegar Syndrome to
it's very consumer friendly.
yeah.
It really is. It's consumer conscious, if you will. And I didn't realize that they had put out like 4 Rudy Ray Moore films,
Yeah.
because I was only aware of Dolomite, right?
Yeah.
Dolomite. I almost said Black Dynamite, but that's not. the
No,
movie. Black Dynamite is a spoof of like Dolomite movies. But that's all the Vinegar Syndrome stuff.
Now I did decide to buy one of these. And of course I did.
Do tell.
Yeah, I did buy Flesh for Frankenstein, and I think you did too, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did indeed.
So we'll be waiting anxiously for that, and I did pre-order it, so I probably will get it earlier than you will.
Oh, rub that in my
well,
face.
that's what I do. And
Well, this was the first time I've gone to like the Vinegar Syndrome sale and not waited until the last day to buy
hey, I'm
something.
proud of you.
I
I'm
bought
proud of
I
you.
bought it first. I bought it right away, like 12:30. Yeah, a.m.
Yeah,
like right when the sale dropped.
it's there's a first for everything.
Yeah, I bought Flesh for Frankenstein, which they announced a little while ago. It's been up for pre-order for a bit. I bought the movie Fade to Black, which I've seen because it is streaming on Shudder when I watched it before. And then I bought one of the Fun City editions as well.
Walking the
And
Edge.
I don't. Yes, thank goodness you remembered it because
Yeah,
I
I saw
always
you
forget.
searching, and I was like, he doesn't remember, but I remember.
I don't
I
remember.
remember.
I don't know what's going on. And you know how many people I've told that I partaken in the sale, and I can never remember that
Yeah.
third title.
I,
It was like the fourth person.
yeah, I picked
crazy.
up. This was like before the sale, but I did pick up Radio On, which is fantastic. We talked about it before. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we talked about when they announced it, and I didn't realize that it came out so quickly after we talked about it. Of all the recent kind of Vinegar Syndrome titles, or related to Vinegar Syndrome, it's Fun City, but it's put out through them.
Yeah,
That's the movie that's really stuck with me the most. Like,
yeah,
I was
I
really
agree.
impressed.
Yeah, it's been my
by
it's my
it.
favorite release of theirs so far that I've seen. I haven't seen Alphabet City yet, or I haven't watched Walking the Edge yet, but I would say Radio On's probably going to be my favorite still. But I did decide to buy Steel and Lace, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, it this film is kind of like a spit on your grave with kind of a sci-fi twist to it. It's
Okay.
she's got like robotics, and she gets raped, and she seeks revenge this is the description I got here. A rape victim returns from the dead to seek vengeance on her rapists in this gory horror film. So I mean, it just by the description, I watched the trailer, I was like, I think I'm gonna like this movie. so yeah.
I can tell you this though. I know you just bought I think it was like a month or so ago, Champagne and Bullets.
Yes.
It is now sold out on vinegarsyndrome.com.
Oh wow.
So you scored that.
Well, that's
boy.
it doesn't surprise me. A lot of people have talked about that one.
Yes.
You probably can still find it out there somewhere. Like,
of course.
it's.
Yeah.
I know. Orbit DVD had been keeping it in stock pretty regularly. So you might want to go over there if it's something you're still interested in. But
You're still interested. But that is the one thing with the Vinegar Syndrome sale this time of year is some things do sell out.
Yeah.
And once they sell out, of course they're.
I mean, there'll be a standard edition, but
yeah,
usually.
there probably will be. Probably non slipcover. Non slipcover edition, but they do have plenty of copies of Flesh for Frankenstein, New York Ninja, their first VSP release. They've got plenty of copies of other stuff as well. But usually when it gets down below 1,000, because they'll tell you, that's when you want to start
thinking about buying something.
Start keeping tabs. That's the one good thing about Vinegar Syndrome, I will say, is that they do tell you how much they have in stock and how much they have left. That's a nice little extra that I wish most retailers would do.
Yeah,
because I really want to know what's going on.
Now the other title that I mentioned, I almost bought this one too, but I decided to wait till another time. Is the TC-2000, because this looks like kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of sci-fi. It's a movie that's trying to predict the future, and of course it's way off. But but it's got like some notable actors in it. Specifically for me, it's got Bolo Young in it. I love Bolo, especially from Bloodsport. If you've seen Bloodsport, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, so he's
he's like the main villain
in Bloodsport. Yeah,
Bloodsport with
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, I made the stance.
He made a stance that was something. I don't know what it is, but this film looks like kind of like it's about like how the environment goes bad, and so the rich people go underground and have this like underground sanctum, but all the poor people get left up top, and so it's about like them trying to fight their way down, I guess, or something like that. But it looks kind of cool. I I almost bought it, but I think maybe I'll wait for the next sale or try to watch it first. But yeah, I think there's some interesting titles here that I'm come back to later. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking through their website irresponsibly during the podcast.
Yeah, well, that's what happens
something
sometimes.
You should be doing.
This
is what happens. You get caught up in the glitz and the glamour. You just gotta look at stuff.
Yeah, sometimes let
me stop looking at stuff.
Sometimes you buy stuff in the middle of a podcast. You're like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah, I know. Fuck it. But moving right along from out of the Severin sale, out of the Vinegar Syndrome sale, let's move to Kino, because Kino has had a couple of announcements over the last 2 weeks or so. So we'll probably pick up right where we left off last time, and we are picking up with a film called the Mayfu Cage.
I can't tell you.
Not really quite sure how to say it. All I can say is that it's a film that's a re-release from 2 years ago. Actually, the original Blu-ray release of the Mayfu Cage came out in June of 2019. And is getting a re-release in January of 2022. And it's originally a Scorpion release, and I guess now it's getting a tandem re-release between Kino and Scorpion releasing. Maybe they're teaming up to re-put it out, and that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But what is interesting about that is that the movie stars Carol Kane, and Carol Kane is an actress that I'm most familiar with being in the sitcom Taxi.
Yeah.
Back in the day. That's where she got a lot of her start from. And the Mayfu Cage came out right before Taxi, right around Taxi, 1978 or so. But this is a pretty stacked release. It's got a new 2K scan. It's got 5 interviews. It's got 2 audio commentaries. So they really went all out for this release. I'm assuming it's the exact same release as the one that came out 2 years ago. Just, repackaged. Maybe not even repackaged. Just by direct from Kino. But moving.
I was going to say, and then, I'm interested in seeing this because, when I think about Carol Kane, I do think comedic actress.
Yes.
And specifically for me, I did watch Taxi growing up, but also her character in the movie Scrooged, where she plays the ghost of Christmas Present, where she's the fairy.
Yes, she does.
And she keeps beating the shit out of Bill Murray. Yeah.
She does.
Yeah, so,
she does.
I think of her comedically, and she's hilarious. So, yeah.
She's been in so many movies that people will probably not realize or remember. She was in The Addams Family.
Yeah.
Values, I believe. She was in The Princess Bride. She was in that Netflix show, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, like I said, she's done a lot. I know she's done a lot, but a lot of it's comedy. And so this being like a horror thriller type of movie, I would be interested to see her chops as in a dramatic way.
Yes, but moving on from there, we go to a Western, because you always got to throw a Western in there, in Journey to Shiloh. And this is a movie that's getting a new 2K master, new audio commentary, new interview with one of the actors. And this film stars James Caan.
James Caan.
Who always seems to pop up every once in a while on here. 1968, so pre-Godfather James Caan. Very, very cool. And yeah, give me a late 60s Western. I'm just curious about that era of Westerns in general. It's kind of towards the later part of the popularity of the genre.
Yeah, either they are hanging on to the old school Western, the optimistic Western, or they're like full on into the spaghetti Western cynicalness. You either get one or the other.
You're either is it a John Wayne Western, or is it a
Peck and Paul? Is it a Peck and Paul Western,
or is it Sam Peckinpah?
Yeah.
Coincidentally, they do mention the Wild Bunch in here, but it's more of a descriptive term than a literal term. But in this description here, but it does have a nice young cast in it of actors I'm not quite familiar with, but it does mention that they are a young cast. I'm very interested in this film. If you want to watch this movie, I think it's available on YouTube, actually.
Okay.
I think that's where I saw it. Um, so I'm curious about it. I'm very curious. It's getting a Blu-ray and DVD release, so I'm assuming that it didn't have a DVD release before, and if it did, it's getting a new re-release.
Okay.
But moving on to another team up, and this is Code Red and Kino Lorber tandem release of Maria's Lovers from 1984. You get 2 new interviews with one with the actor John Savage and one with actor Vincent Spano, and this is a film starring Natasha Kinski. And Natasha Kinski was in Cat People, but it's not the Cat People that you remember. It's I think the Paul Schrader remake of Cat People from the early 80s.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the one that she was in. And I remember Natasha Kinski because I'm actually going to look her up right now because I can't remember. But she was in Paris, Texas. That's right.
Yeah.
She's in Paris, Texas. I believe she plays kind of the long-lost, I think, ex-wife of Harry Dean Stanton's character that he's looking for in that film. Then he finally finds her towards the end. Spoiler alert. But, I mean, the journey's worth the watch anyway. But she was also in Roman Polanski's Tess in the late 70s as well. She was in Terminal Velocity in the 90s. So Natasha Kinski is an actress who's been in things that people have probably heard of or have seen, but can't recommend Paris, Texas enough if you haven't seen it.
Oh yeah.
So is there any more to say about that?
It looks like this movie's about a POW who comes back from World War II and like falls in love. It's looking to rekindle a relationship with like a lost love. But of course, there's other men that are going after her too. And I think the main character is played by Keith Carradine.
Yes.
And he's an actor, you see him every once in a while, a lot on TV. He was in Dexter. He's done some other, I think he played, what's her name's dad in Big Bang Theory.
Kaylee Cuoco.
Yeah.
Kaylee Cuoco's character.
Yeah. So,
but Keith Carradine is part of the Carradine acting family.
He's good. I like him.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I think more people remember his brother David Carradine. Yeah. Of course, he was in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. He was in a bunch of things.
Yeah,
a bunch of things. But Keith Carradine is more of a kind of career actor. He's in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
like he's got 144 acting credits on IMDb.
Yeah,
and he's still working today. So he's in this, and what is also interesting, you know who also is in this movie? Robert Mitchum.
Yeah. This was it later.
This is 1984. Yeah. Robert Mitchum. I don't think I've seen an 80s film with Robert Mitchum in it.
Apparently, he was ill during the making of this movie. He had pneumonia, so he might not be in. It might be sad to see him in this movie. I know he.
Well, I know he was very ill towards the end of his life. Yeah, because I've seen interviews with him where he's like he has to have like an oxygen tank carrying around with him and stuff, and But this is 1984, and I don't think he passed away till sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. Yeah,
because he has a quick cameo in Cape Fear.
Yeah,
in
the remake.
Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, because he was in the original Cape Fear, and I think he was acting pretty much up until he passed. Yeah, he passed in 97, and his last acting performance, it was technically actually in 97.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was still acting at the time. So, yeah, he's one of my all-time favorites, so that was just something to note. So moving on from there, we go back in time now to a film from 1951 called Bright Victory, starring Arthur Kennedy. And this is a film I really wanted to watch for the show, and I just didn't get a chance to, or I couldn't find it, actually. It was one of those where I just couldn't find it. And I think Arthur Kennedy was nominated for Best Actor for this film. I'd have to look it up.
Pause for
at least that's what the.
I don't think maybe. You know what? He was nominated. Yes.
Yes, he was.
Yep.
And this is So this film had 2 nominations: one for Best Actor in a Leading Role, and one for Best Sound. And this film was directed by Mark Robson. And Mark Robson did The Harder They Fall. Yeah. He did Peyton Place, The Seventh Victim. He was an actor who he was another actor. He's a director who I keep running into
Yeah.
his work like absentmindedly. Like I'll just, watch a movie and hey, it's Mark Robson. He directed Isle of the Dead, Bedlam, um, what was it, the Bridges at Tokyo Re, and so he was involved in a lot of quality films during his career.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like this is once again another war kind of romance film where
Yeah, love story.
yeah, where the main character gets blinded by a German soldier, and now it's about his recovery process, and of course there's also a love interest involved, which seems to be the mandate for most movies back then.
Back then, yeah, the post World War II movies. If you think, many of the World War II movies kind of had romances in them and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm into it. It's getting brand new 2K master. That's all we know, and just says coming soon on Blu-ray. So we don't even know when it's coming out. I'm assuming sometime next year. If I was a betting man.
Well, there is only one month left in this year, so
yeah. But Kino loves to announce stuff, and then we'll get the details like 6 months later.
Yeah.
That seems to be their role. Moving on to another film that, of course, is another love story. Just judging by the cover of this poster here, is a film called When Tomorrow Comes, and this is a film starring Irene Dunne and Charles Boyer. A lot of Charles Boyer stuff is starting to come out now, and I'm really, really digging it because I really like him as an actor, and Irene Dunne is a classic actress as well. So this is definitely something I'm interested in, and I think this is produced by John M. Stahl, but I want to see who directed it.
He directed it.
Oh, he did direct it? Okay. That makes sense. Usually, sometimes they'll just, put the biggest name attached to it, and sometimes it's just the producer and it's not the director. But John M. Stahl, of course, directed a couple of films that are of note, primarily Leave Her to Heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great film. And that's a film that I would highly recommend people to get or own. It's perfect for Noirvember, which I know is wrapping up now. That's a movie that, of course, stars the great Gene Tierney, Cornel Wilde, Gene Crane. It's a Technicolor film with a dark film noir line through it.
Oh, yeah.
And I know we've talked about it several times here on whatever iteration of our podcast.
Yeah, and I'm interested in this film, but see what you think of whether this film sounds problematic in a way, because the description of this movie is a concert pianist unhappily married to a mentally ill woman falls in love with a waitress. Now,
oh boy,
we're getting into mental illness, so I don't know what kind of mental illness this wife has. So in a sense, I don't, who knows if this is looking at mental illness in the best light, because if the main character is deciding, I'm going to push my mentally ill wife to the side and, get with a waitress, it doesn't make him look very good. I'll
say this. I mean, it came out in 1939, so what could be construed as a mental illness then versus
sure,
now?
of course,
could be completely different.
Like I said,
there
need to watch
and
it.
There could be people. Yeah, it could be people listening to our podcast right now yelling at us, saying we have no idea what we're talking about.
We don't.
Because neither of us have seen the movie.
I said that. I haven't seen it. I'm just saying that based off of the description, there could be a problematic thing about it, which happens a lot with older films. There's sometimes problematic things.
Oh, of course.
And it doesn't make me not want to watch them or buy them. So, right. I understand that it's from a certain time, so it doesn't bother me.
We talk about all kinds of stuff like that all the time when it comes to this. I mean, Hollywood and just movies in general have had a history of problematic issues.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be surprising if indeed there isn't one in this film.
Not even
at all.
Hollywood, just Hollywood. But God, we just talked about two companies, Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, that put out some of the most horrific stuff that would offend most people.
Oh, they do. It's some of the most offensive cinema
comes out from them companies
that we've ever seen.
Yeah. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, I just think for people that it does bother,
may, of course.
they might want to look into it before they decide to buy it. In case
I would love more description than mentally ill is such an umbrella term.
Yeah,
Like, it could
especially
mean
for women
literally
back then. Yeah,
anything.
but
I mean, yeah, back then, if people legitimately had depression, they didn't know how to properly treat them, so
so
they would just, like,
they
give them
they
tranquilizers, you
electrocuted
know what
you.
I mean? Yeah, like, yeah, electroshock therapy,
Yeah,
which they still apparently do today. So, I mean, I think it's a little more
it's
maybe
more
perhaps
controlled, I'm
humane
sure.
today.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a movie. When
Yeah,
Tomorrow
I'm
Comes.
even reading yeah, I'm even reading the description on Letterboxd, and it says the same thing.
Yeah.
Romance and heartbreak walk hand in hand. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
All right,
Oh
move
yeah,
on.
moving on before I get distracted. And now move on to the 1970s, specifically 1975, with Charles Bronson
Oh shit,
starring
him
in
again?
Breakout. That is the movie. And the movie also stars Robert Duvall as well as Jill Ireland. And I may or may not have broken out my mic when I said breakout. So
I
hopefully you can still hear me, Steven.
I could still hear you.
Oh, good, good, good. But Breakout is a film, like I said, starring Charles Bronson, and we've been getting a slew of Charles Bronson 1970s films. I was gonna say action pieces, but not all of them are really action.
No,
But
the
mostly
one that
they are.
stands out to me is the movie you told me about the ants that attack his like watermelon farm, or what was that movie?
Oh, I think that was Kirk
Or was
Douglas, wasn't it?
no,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. This was a Bronson film where he was. You told it. This
Was
was
it?
many episodes ago. This was like maybe 5 episodes ago,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you were
Well,
talking
I
about a
think I know
movie where he
exactly the
was
movie
like
you're
in
talking about.
Colombia, and he was like making like either like cocoa beans or it was what.
Oh yeah, he was on like a chocolate bean farm or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. There was a Kirk Douglas movie maybe too that was where he made watermelons, but I think maybe it was cocoa beans. I'm trying to remember what the movie is. I'm sure you're looking it up as I speak right now.
Oh, of course I am, and this is the worst time to be
I
doing this.
know what
The
we
worst
that's how we
time.
do it.
That's how we roll. So what's his name? Charles Bronson. What's that? Oh man.
Is it? No, it's not that one.
No, no, no.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how much Charles Bronson films I've watched.
Oh, you have for this show. I know a lot, but this film, it seems to be about a pilot who gets hired to go free a prisoner in Mexico. I like a good escape movie. I like a good, like it's also got Robert Duvall, as you said. I mean, that's two right there. I mean, I want to check this out.
Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid is in the film as well,
Okay.
and it's like he plays like Charles Bronson's best friend, and what happens is Charles Bronson is, he's hired by the wife of Robert Duvall's character, basically break him out of prison.
Yeah.
And initially, she doesn't kind of give him all the facts, so things are
nice.
a bit askew. And so it's him like attempt after attempt of trying to like break him out, and it's a fun, kind of a fun movie from that perspective. And yeah, I kind of dig it. It's kind of like typical Charles Bronson actioner type film.
Yeah.
It's not really anything too special. I enjoyed it. It. There's a lot of go on.
I was gonna say, apparently you haven't found this movie we were talking about.
No, because I don't think you have the right movie. Because I've gone through all the movies.
It was him.
Pretty sure it was the Charles Bronson. It wasn't Charles Bronson.
Maybe it wasn't. I'm just making up. I forget shit.
Maybe
all
you're
the
making
time.
up stuff.
I make up stuff too.
Who hasn't? Who doesn't make up stuff?
But I don't make.
We just wing it all the time anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I'm not making up that I have seen this next movie, and it's called One False Move. This is directed by Carl Franklin, and I know it has our man Bill Paxton in it. He's one of my favorites.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. Yes. But I remember watching this, I think back when we talked about the indicator release of Devil in a Blue Dress, because I wanted to watch more Carl Franklin because I hadn't seen any of his films, and I came across this one, and I remember, it's about some small town cops who are kind of waiting on the arrival of these gangsters, and Billy Bob. I think Billy Bob Thornton plays like a federal agent, and Bill Paxton's like a guy who's like, he lives in this small town. He wants to be a cop, so he's kind of playing cop. He's kind of trying to be more. He's hanging out with him. He's asking him questions, and he's he gets a dose of reality in the movie. So it's a solid action movie. It's a solid thriller. You haven't seen this one?
I've not seen this film. I haven't.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think this might have gotten teased a while back ago, but it's finally getting another, I guess, another re-announcement, because I feel like this was announced a while back ago. I don't know, but it just says coming soon, so probably sometime next year.
Yep, seems about right. I cannot find that movie you were talking about.
Don't worry about it. You should just give up.
Describing it to you.
Yeah, you should just stop.
The irony is that I'm going to probably remember it after the show.
Probably when the pressure's off.
Is up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on from One False Move, we've got two Bob Hope films. One is Bob Hope and Joan Caulfield, and that is Monsieur Beaucaire. And then the second one is Bob Hope in Where There's Life. I haven't seen a lot of Bob Hope films.
I don't know that I'm interested.
I don't know if that. I'm just a blind spot for me.
It's a blind spot for me. I don't know if I'm interested or not. Somebody needs to tell me that I need to watch it before I get into it, because I don't know. There's just something about Bob Hope's face that I don't think I want to watch him for 2 hours. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe his face. Maybe I find his face punchable. I don't know.
I haven't seen a lot of Bob Hope. I'm just completely not oblivious to his career. I just haven't seen a lot of his stuff. I've seen two of his films, but it's not really like he was in the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
So I've seen the Muppet movie. I mean, doesn't really count as a Bob Hope film specifically, but it's there. I know he's been in a bunch of films like Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth, and another film, Road to Morocco, and The Cat and the Canary, and he's been in a lot of stuff, and just a lot of stuff I haven't seen yet. So I gotta dive into kind of his work. But moving on from those two Bob Hope releases, and they're both not really getting any special features or anything, really. I mean, the Monsieur Beaucaire is getting a new 2K release and then some trailers, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Second film, not so much. The Great Moment, I think, is a film we've already talked about with
it's a Preston
Joel
Sturges
McRae,
film.
Betty Field,
Yeah.
Harry Carey. We've talked about that. Next is a movie called White Woman. Stars Charles Laughton and Carol Lombard, and this I have seen, and I really like the film.
Okay.
It's Charles Laughton just chews up the scenery like there's nobody's business in this scene. He's got like the most ridiculously large bushy mustache you've ever seen, and he's just super hamming it up the whole time, and I really like that about him.
Yeah.
This film came out in 1933, so it's kind of maybe pre-code-ish, if you will, right on that line. And Carol Lombard, of course, is an actress that they've been putting out a lot of her work from recently with two Carol Lombard box sets, and then now with a couple of individual releases of her films as well. So we're getting a lot of Carol Lombard. Of course, she unfortunately passed away way too young in a plane crash, I believe. I think I mentioned it several times before. And yeah, I really kind of dig this movie enough to where I would want to buy it just to have more Carol Lombard in my collection.
And what's interesting? Once again, a character in one of these movies with an interesting crop as their the character's crop. In this movie, Carol Lombard marries the owner of a rubber plantation. So it's like,
yeah, what happens is like they get married abruptly, and she moves down to his rubber plantation in the jungle, basically. And what happens? You come to find out that the guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
And so she ends up falling for this other guy, and they end up having a relationship. And what ends up, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's like there are certain indigenous peoples there that are rising up against Charles Laughton's character because he's an egotistical asshole. And yeah, it's it's an interesting kind of like love triangle-ish type movie with a
Yeah.
lot of interplay between the characters and stuff like that. But really great acting by Charles Lawton, as I think he's one of the best actors of all time.
All right.
So moving on from White Woman, which is getting a brand new 2K master, we have a movie called Time Out of Mind, starring Phyllis Calvert and Robert Hutton. And this is a film I know absolutely nothing about other than it's a Universal Pictures film from 1947.
Yeah. Yeah.
And directed by Robert Siodmak,
Okay.
who is a name we've seen many times in many different forms. I keep running. He's another director whose work I keep running into absent-mindedly. And he directed like The Spiral Staircase and a lot of other like film noirs as well, that I'm going to currently look up. He directed The Killers. He directed Portrait of a Sinner. He's a really great director.
Yeah, it's got an interesting premise. It's about a son of a wealthy Maine shipping magnate causes a crisis in the family when he announces that he wants a career in music rather than the family business. So it's gonna be like a family drama.
He just wants to dance, Steven.
Yeah, I know.
He just wants to dance.
Yeah. So this is this time's Footloose, I guess. But I mean, yeah, I like any movie where somebody like goes outside the norm, and messes up the normality of a situation. So
yeah, he directed The Killers from 1946, the one starring Burt Lancaster and Ava Gardner.
Yeah.
Not the later, I guess, remake of that, which you can get in a 2-pack, like a dual edition from Criterion, where you get both versions of The Killers.
Yeah. All right.
So,
well, the next one we got here, we got a couple more here. We got Fragment of Fear.
Yes.
Which I think has already been released by Indicator.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a release by Indicator.
Speaking of that, Indicator already released Charles Bronson's Breakout as well.
Okay.
So it's probably a film many of you listening at home may already be aware of or may already actually have. It was one of their early releases from 2017.
Yeah.
Maybe 2018, something like that. So they released that years ago. So people may be familiar with that, but you were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to say, that it's already been released, and it doesn't look, I mean, I guess this is just the U.S. version. I guess nobody else has gotten the rights. This is in a situation where somebody's already put out, and, Kino's like, we're going to do the 4K. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. But
I like the poster.
Yeah, I like the poster.
Fragment of Fear.
It's about a
it says, it says murder in Pompeii, voices in the night, despair in the gutter, a phantasmagoria of fright.
Wow.
Have you ever heard the word phantasmagoria?
I mean, how long did it take them to come up with that shit? I mean,
I don't even think that's a real word.
I don't know. That's probably why they were like, I'm going to have to create a word to rhyme here, But the synopsis is reformed drug addict Tim Brett is vacationing in Italy with his aunt. When she is murdered, he tries to investigate, and soon his whole life is out of control.
Oh,
okay.
That's what happens when you try to solve murders and
on your own,
stuff like that. Yeah. You just go down a spiral, and you just can't get out of it.
Apparently. But yeah, I still need to watch it. I mean, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would assume that there's probably more features on the Indicator release. That's just a guess based off of history.
That's just,
based off of history.
They'll probably be exclusive to the Indicator release by this point.
Sure. So, just do a little check into that once more information comes out. But the last thing that we got here that I think just got announced today is that another 4K from Kino, who's also, once again, pulling from a previously released thing from Criterion. And it is the 4K for Paths of Glory, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Once again, Kino is just, robbing the baby from the cradle, just just taking the sweet films from other labels and saying, hey, we'll do the 4K, and Here they are. Yeah, another one. I'm sure this will look
Yeah,
great in 4K, black and white.
yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah,
What is interesting is it's never a release slate nowadays without Kino grabbing a 4K right from somebody else.
yeah,
And I know Paths of Glory has been out for Criterion for a long time.
yeah.
Like, not quite a decade now, but a long time. And it's I'm surprised that really surprised this was not a 4K right that Criterion snagged up or kept the rights to, because all of the Kubrick stuff is getting 4K release now that Warner Brothers has.
Yeah.
They've already put out The Shining. They've already put out Full Metal Jacket. They've already put out A Clockwork Orange. They've already put out 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I think that's the is that the only. And Sony's already put out Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah.
So I'm really surprised Criterion didn't hold on to that.
It's starting to become very clear that apparently Kino decided very early on that they were going to put money into 4K, and they just started acquiring 4K licenses for as much as they could.
Yes,
that's just they just seem to have like I said,
Steven, I've got good news for you though.
Oh shit.
I tracked down that movie you were talking about.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's called The Naked Jungle.
Okay, yeah.
1954, and it was Charlton Heston. Who was the star of it.
There is a Charles in there.
Yes, one was Charles Bronson, one was Charlton Heston.
Yeah. I was close.
And we must have talked about it in early October.
Okay, so not that long ago.
Because I watched it on September 30th. So
there we go.
Mystery solved.
Yes, within an episode, a mystery was solved. That's amazing.
Amazing. The investigation work is just too good.
Did you video screenshot your investigation so we can put that as like a supplement to this episode?
Oh, I of course did not.
Shit.
Of course, it would be just me frantically searching through my Letterboxd watch history.
Yeah.
Until I came across The Naked Jungle.
Yeah.
But back to the task at hand.
People watch other people play video games online, so they'll like this.
You know what's crazy? Not to sound too cool, that was what I spent a good portion of my childhood doing.
Oh, Jesus.
Was watching other more skilled people play video games, and now people get paid so much money to play video games so that people can watch.
That's one
them.
I just don't understand. I guess I watch some things that are not so investing. Like I like watching, videos of people unboxing Blu-rays. That's not. But they're also only a couple. They're also only a couple minutes long, and watching somebody play.
I'm just saying, something we used to do as kids, which is kids, it was watching other people play video games or whatever, is now like a huge industry. It's like our generation kind of ushered in. We
gave them all the good ideas, and now they're just putting it online. Yeah,
I guess to a certain point, but. Hey, it's an industry now. Let people do.
It's only an industry as long as YouTube or whatever platform you're doing it on allows them.
YouTube, Twitch, and all this stuff, keeps it going. But what is apparently going to keep going is Kino doing these 4K releases, because they've been putting out a bunch of them lately, and still going to be putting out a bunch of them. And apparently, the quality of these releases are very, very good.
Yeah.
From what I've heard from The Great Escape, Silence of the Lambs. The movie we kept bringing up, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 70s.
You bring it up again.
Fantastic. I have no doubt that Some Like It Hot's going to look amazing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like these aren't high quality releases, because they definitely are. And they just continue to surprise me, the titles they keep getting.
Yeah.
that are part of these other companies. But moving on from Kino and all these people we've been talking about, let's move to kind of the headlining slate, I guess, of this week. Well, not really, but it was the latest slate and the latest announcements I think we got this week, and that was Arrow Video. This kind of dropped Friday, I think, right after Thanksgiving, or somewhere around there, and it's a bit of a smaller slate, literally, than we've been seeing from them in the past, because it's kind of only like 3 movies.
Well, I mean, it's a 3 movies in a box
3
set.
movies plus a box set.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus a box set. Forgot about that.
I think this is a nice little.
It's a nice little release slate.
Yeah, it's not too complicated.
No, not at all.
You get your once again another 4K re-release, and of course it's got multiple versions.
Yes, there. So I guess
let's just start there.
Let's just start there. Phenomena, which is a Dario Argento film, which has already had a Blu-ray release by Arrow Video many years ago, which I have. They've also we also want to mention that Phenomena has been released on Blu-ray by Synapse already, and they're releasing their own 4K edition of Phenomena as well.
And that's
and now Arrow's releasing it too.
Yeah, and I actually have already pre-ordered the Synapse 4K. I think
there's so much Phenomena to go around.
Yeah, there's so many choices, and honestly, there was no real clear reason why. I just looked at that Synapse version. I was like, I like that. I like the artwork on that one, because there's really not much of it.
It is beautiful artwork.
Yeah. So
it's very beautiful.
That's the one I went with. So
yeah, they've got. Oh man, if you look up Phenomena on Blu-ray.com and you see all the countries, there's so many releases for this. But the Phenomena 4K is limited to 6,000 from Synapse and is coming out in March.
Yeah.
While the Arrow releases, whether it's the new art they have, the original art edition that you've been getting with Deep Red and Bird with Crystal Plumage and Cat o' Nine Tails, or however continuity you want to keep your set with, you can still do that. The kicker here is it's not getting a U.S. release of Phenomena, because Synapse owns those rights here in both Blu-ray and 4K. So you've got plenty of choices here, but if you want to stick with the Arrow release that you've been picking up so far, you're going to have to order from Zavvi UK, directly from Arrow, Amazon UK, probably some places here.
And that's kind of the reason I went the Synapse way, because usually I order this stuff through Diabolic, and Diabolic wasn't included in this one.
I saw on Diabolic's Twitter account that they're not going to be selling this UK edition.
Yeah, I got this. That's why I got the Synapse version.
Yeah. So it was directly from them, straight up from them.
Yep.
So for me, I've been buying the original art covers this whole time.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm kind of stuck where I need to get it, because my obsessive compulsive disorder will not allow me not to.
Well, I did have a split second where I was like, and then I was like,
that's why I'm surprised.
I don't really give a shit.
Steven doesn't care about shit.
I do, but I sometimes I can break free of that compulsion, and I'm just like, fuck it, I think it's because
stronger man than I am.
I think it's because I'm having a kid. I'm letting things go. I'm starting to let things go.
Let it slide.
Because I know something more important's heading my way.
Right.
So I'm just like, why am I stressing out about this? I don't care.
Yeah, screw it. Screw it.
But yeah, so Phenomena is Dario Argento. This is one of his later movies, or somewhat later movies.
No, it was in the 70s. It
was in the 70s? I'm looking. You know what? It is. You're right. I'm looking at the wrong damn one.
Yeah, Phenomena. Yeah, well, you're looking at Phenomenon.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
With John Travolta and Kira Sedgwick.
No, I wasn't even looking at that one. I was looking at the...
Oh, okay.
No, didn't it come out in 85? You said 70s.
Why am I... Oh, it is 85.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, am I crazy?
Yeah, I'm way off.
Yeah,
But
Jennifer
Connelly,
Donald Pleasance.
And a monkey.
Yeah, and a monkey.
Daria Nicolade, who we've talked about a couple of times. She was in a lot of Argento stuff and Fulci stuff, and just, she was a horror icon who recently passed away. But yeah, Jennifer Connelly, I remember this movie because I've seen it twice, and Jennifer Connelly can communicate and control insects.
Yeah.
And it seems to be her power in this movie.
It's a cool power to have. You can keep your house from having any insect issues,
Yeah, she...
You can also... maybe she was the one that attacked the cocoa farm in the
in the naked jungle.
In the naked jungle, maybe it was her.
Yeah, what a.
She's the one that set the ants, the killer ants or whatever on the.
Yeah. Oh, madness, chaos. Just get out of it.
Everything comes back to the naked jungle.
Of course it does. But basically, the premise of the movie is, like I said, Jennifer Connelly can control and communicate with insects, and she gets transferred or she moves to this Swiss boarding school where I guess there's like murders happening, so she's trying to like solve these
There's
murders.
always murders happening.
There's always murders happening. And Donald Pleasance is like this local scientist dude with like a monkey. Yeah,
Of course he is.
I've seen the movie twice, and I don't know if people like the movie or if it's considered a cult favorite or whatever. All I can say is it was the first Dario Argento film I think I ever saw.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bought the limited edition original Arrow release from 2011. That's how long I've had it in my collection.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a much, much bigger upgrade for me.
This will be a
when it
first
comes
time
to
buy
just-
for me. So this is I
Yeah.
came at the good
And-
time. Yeah.
But each set looks like it's coming with like the usual fanfare when it comes to Arrow, lobby cards, posters, thick box set. There is, it's 4K UHD, and
There's also an alternate like creepers
Yes.
version.
Creeper. Yeah, there's a Creepers cover art version, and Creepers, I guess, was the title of the movie in the United States,
Okay.
which is not a great title.
No.
I mean, it does lean into the whole, she controls bugs thing.
Sure.
So, but I'm probably going to go with the 4K UHD original art edition, but each set, I assume, is coming with the same exact special features. I'm not sure if the Synapse version has the same special features
Probably
or
some
not.
different stuff, I'm assuming.
We'd have to do a side-by-side comparison with that. But I would definitely check out all of these artworks and see which one you like the most or whichever one you want to get. All I could say is that these Dario Argento releases have all been great releases. They all look gorgeous
Oh yeah.
when it comes to the aesthetic of your collections. But moving on from there, we've got two films, one of which is Deadly Games.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I watched the movie. That's all I'll say. The movie's terrible.
It's yeah.
it's so bad.
Just say it, Andrew. Don't be bashful. Just
Yeah. It's like I don't want to bash the movie, but yeah.
Well, sometimes I
Deadly
mean, look,
Games.
even if you say a movie's, it's okay to say a movie's bad. I mean, it's your opinion. Movies are subjective. And if somebody, you don't have to like a movie. It's okay. As long as you can say why you don't like the movie. I think that you've done your job.
Yeah, the way in which they sell this movie as kind of like an 80s slasher type film is bullshit. It's honestly bullshit. Because the first and third acts of the film, essentially the opening and the ending of the movie, is very much like that.
Okay.
In the middle, we get a really uninteresting, like, love story nonsense crap that I was just so not interested in. The movie opens with a murder, and it's done like POV style, very tense, very very cool and whatnot. And then the movie just goes off on the rest of its plot that's just not good. And I mean, even the Letterboxd synopsis is garbage. It says a town is being terrorized by a masked killer who is murdering women. Well, he murders one woman.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie you're trying to figure out who the murderer is, because what happens is then the focus shifts to the sister of the murdered victim is trying to figure out, who murdered her sister, and she's like working with like the local cop and then the townspeople she meets, and it's like her old hometown, so it's like her old friends and whatnot, and then there's a lot of nonsense in here. It's not good. It's just not a good movie. I was kind of shocked how bad it was, and I'm kind of shocked. And maybe it's a cult classic or whatnot, but Arrow is putting out two different versions of this film. With two different covers, with an art original cover and then a new brand new artwork as well.
Yeah, I mean, it does, sometimes there's movies that that these labels put out that I think that there must be like some sort of small appeal linked to it in some way that it makes it worth putting out.
Yeah, and that's been Arrow's thing for years now, where they've put out movies that are, well under the radar, cult classics, stuff
I
like
mean,
that. That was where they started out
yeah, I mean, we've
doing, was
talked.
a
I mean,
lot of
we
that
talked about it
stuff.
like like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome. That's what they do. Their whole thing, their whole catalog is based off of really under the underground stuff, and you know it has it definitely has a place. So but when it seems like sometimes when Arrow does it, it sometimes maybe that it's like they get one of these movies, but they're not nearly as interesting as some, at least based off of your reaction to this movie. Because I can get a Vinegar Syndrome thing and be like, well, there's some value here. It might not be a great movie, but it's got some spunk to it. It's got something to it that I like. But I need to watch this one, so I don't know.
Yeah, it is getting a release in the UK and here, as well as Canada as well. So it's not like Phenomena where
Yeah.
it's only limited. So you can get that in your usual spots.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's getting 2 different covers. And then the next film is Don't Go in the House, which feels like we just talked about
It's
this
Severin
movie.
put it out. They're putting it out.
Yes, it's the same exact movie Severin just put out.
Yeah. So yeah, it's we talked about it then, where it's it's a movie about a disturbed person. I've heard that he's playing it up very similar to a Norman Bates type.
Yes, it's like Norman Bates dialed up to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't. Isn't that how I described it? Where it's kind of
I
like
remember you saying
it was
that.
like Psycho and Norman Bates, but with none of the subtleties.
Yeah.
It's all out in the open when it comes to his psychosis. There's no holding me back at all.
So yeah.
So yeah, we've already talked about it. It is a video nasty, so it's part of that whole video nasties line. And yeah, that's Don't Go in the House. I would honestly say it's much better than the Deadly Games if I was comparing them straight up. I mean, if you want to get the Severin release, get the Severin release. If you want to get this release, get this release. But moving on from there, we have a 5-film box set.
I think this is the winner of the slate here.
Oh yeah. 5 films by Claude Chabrol. Many film fans out there know exactly who Claude Chabrol is. Claude Chabrol, of course, one of the pinnacle founding members, however you want to say it, of the French New Wave back in the late 50s and 60s. He did films like Le Beau Serge, I think was his film, as well as Le Cousin, 2 of his early films. He's right up there in the same breath as Jean-Luc Godard, Truffaut, Agnes Varda. All of those people were his contemporaries at the time. But this is his later work. This is the work in the 80s. So if you just think those people were making movies back then, no, their careers did go past the 1960s. Some better than others, of course. And Claude Chabrol was making movies all the way up until 2009.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's kind of interesting when you think about that. He did pass away in 2010, hence why.
Yeah, it was his passion his whole life.
Yeah, he made movies from the 50s to 2009.
Yeah.
That's kind of a hell of a career. But this is 5 films that stretch from the mid-80s all the way up to early 90s. And what is, I think, special specifically about, I don't know if they mention it here, I want to say the box set artwork, I think, is done by Scott Saslow.
It is. I remember seeing him post about this.
Yeah, so I want to make sure to mention that, but I'm on the Arrow.com website, and they don't mention it specifically, so I want to make sure too that we pointed that out.
Yeah, we had Scott on some months back ago, and
yes, we did. Yeah. So that's why I want to specifically mention it, because we know him, and he was on a guest on our show, and we know that he works on a bunch of these releases from a bunch of different companies, and this is one of them. And this looks like a gorgeous box set.
Yes, it does.
The artwork and the movies themselves. We've got 5 films, like I said,
and all of them getting their own disc.
Yeah, it looks like all of them are getting their own disc. It looks like just a very clean box set.
Yeah.
I like the white and the subtlety of each case getting its own artwork, own unique, I'm assuming original artwork from Scott. It looks fantastic. So the movies are Capovin, Inspector Lavardin, Madame Bovary, Betty, and Torment. And what is specifically interesting to mention is that Capovin and Inspector Lavardin are the first two films in a ongoing franchise
Yeah.
that all starred this character of Inspector Lavardin. And he's kind of like an Inspector Clouseau meets Dirty Harry. That's the way I describe him.
That's a good description, yeah.
Because he's like cracking jokes and stuff like that, but he's also like punching people and like waterboarding people to get information.
Jeez.
So it's like, yeah, it's little Dirty Harry tactics here.
It makes me kind of think of maybe like Luther.
Yeah.
Luther's kind of like on the borderline. He's a good cop, but he's also, he might stretch things every once in a while to get the work done.
Yeah, Capovin also has two different titles because Capovin actually translates directly to wine cop, but it has an alternate title called hold on, let me say this, poulet au vinaigre, and which is basically chicken and vinegar. Is the direct translation of that. And I'm like, I don't know why they changed it from wine cop to chicken and vinegar or vice versa, but it's interesting. And I did get to see like 4 out of 5 of these movies.
Okay.
And I say they're all good.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. They're not bad. They're pretty solid. Madame Bovary is an adaptation of the famous 1857 novel, I believe, called Madame Bovary.
Yeah.
And this novel has had like a dozen or so movie adaptations, plus like operatic adaptations and TV miniseries adaptations and all kind of stuff. But specifically, this movie of Madame Bovary stars Isabelle Huppert.
Yeah.
As the title character of Madame Bovary. And it's a period set film in the 1850s in Normandy, and basically this woman marries this doctor because I guess she's getting older in life, so like that spinster age stuff and whatnot. So she ends up marrying this fine doctor, person, respectable person, but she's just completely bored with that life, and so she starts having affairs and buying like extravagant clothing and extravagant things, and things just get complicated from there. And it's interesting. It's a very interesting movie. It feels a little stuffy, a little slow moving. Movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long or so, and it's a period piece, and it's in French, so you kind of, you got to factor all those things into it. But I really dug it. And the first two films, Capovin and Inspector Lavardin, are basically murder mysteries. Yeah, but they're a little different. The first film, you don't meet the inspector until like halfway into the movie. And there's a whole different plot going on in this small town where this kid accidentally murders someone, and you know who the murderer is. So you're just wondering the whole time how's he going to get caught? When's he going to get caught? Yeah. All this kind of stuff. But in Inspector Lavardin, they decide to not tell you who the murderer is, and he's there from beginning to end trying to figure out this murder. So it's kind of that classic style where
it kind of makes me think about
you're the audience is just as clueless as he is.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the way you're describing it. Makes me kind of think of the movie, which would be later made by Clint Eastwood, Mystic River, where kids gets abducted, and then you don't really know who the bad guy is. Basically, that you don't get into the whole investigation until about halfway through the movie, where Kevin Bacon shows up finally. Because at first, like the father, played by Sean Penn's, like running around trying to deal with it himself.
What I would even, I know exactly what you're talking about. But what I would even say is that it reminds me a lot of the way Hitchcock would do murder mysteries. Yeah, where he would show us, the audience, who did the murder, who was murdered, how they were murdered, and you're just watching the characters trying to figure out what you already know. Yeah. That's the way Capovin works. Yeah. And the way Inspector Lavardin works is kind of like you said, Mystic River, where they find the body, and then you're trying to figure out who did what, how this happened, and the ins and outs of the characters of the town and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. That's kind of how Mystic River works,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
About
I
reserves.
just know that the Tim Robbins character in that movie, we get an idea that
Yeah,
he's went through some things in his life, and then when it's present day where he's got his own kid, something similar happens to somebody else's kid, and then now we don't really know who. I could be remembering the movie wrong. It's been a while since I
that's
watched it.
exactly how it rolls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and so now the people of the now grown up men of the neighborhood are trying to figure out, including Kevin Bacon, who used to live in that neighborhood, are trying to figure out who done this thing. So
yeah. It's based on, I think Mystic River is based on the book by Dennis Lehane, which is and has the same title.
yeah,
Um, that's a movie I have to upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray. That's just an aside. But
yeah.
so I watched those three primarily, and then Betty. Betty is an interesting film because it reminded me a lot of The Lost Weekend.
Okay,
You
that's
meet
a
this
good one.
woman, Betty, who's just like, she has an alcohol problem and she's just going through it. She's clearly got something going on that's making her drink so heavily and whatnot. So what we then get is kind of a flashback. It's not quite The Lost Weekend, but it does have that alcoholism,
Yeah,
framework within it. What happens is you get in a flashback form, you get to see what led her up to, kind of being a manic depressed alcoholic person, if you will. And yeah, it's a really good film, well acted.
okay,
And then Torment I didn't get to see, but apparently both Betty and Torment are, I would say, the most highly rated in the box set when
yeah,
I was just looking online.
okay. Well, I
So
mean, I'm gonna find out because I already pre-ordered it.
yeah, I really want this box set.
I
By the
already
way.
pre-ordered it, so it's coming to me.
Oh, of course.
Yes, of course I did. I don't.
Nice.
To be honest, I've cut back
Don't mess
on.
around.
I don't. I don't. But I have cut back on pre-ordering because I just know that I got to stop giving my money away so easily. I have to start
Right.
pulling back a little bit, and waiting on the things to come out and decide if I have the money or not. So
Yeah, and these are and I was saying each disc has its own set of extras. It looks like each one has a brand new commentary,
Cat Ellinger.
and yeah,
Cat Ellinger does a
there's
lot
Cat
of
Ellinger.
commentaries on this one, at least.
Yeah, Ben Sachs, Cat Ellinger,
Uh,
and then
Alexandra.
Alexander Heller Nicholas, Josh Nelson.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of Claude Chabrol in here to go through. What is interesting is that whole Inspector Lavarden, Claude Chabrol actually directed like the first 4 films in that franchise, and then I think it may have spun off into a TV series and a couple of other films or something into the 90s actually. So that was kind of a long running thing.
One special feature I
Go
see
on.
here that looks interesting. I think it's on the last film. It's Henry George Clouseau.
Yes.
In an archival interview, talks with Claude Chabrol about kind of a director on director conversation. So that's pretty cool.
I'm just reading it here. It says on Georges Clouseau, an archival interview with Claude Chabrol, in which he talks about the fellow director Henry Clouseau, who directed Le Diabolique, whose original attempt to make L'Enfer was abandoned, and how the project came to Chabrol. So apparently, Henry Georges Clouseau was supposed to originally make the film Torment,
Yeah.
and guess didn't work out, maybe fell apart, and then how it
It's
ended
a
up
whole
getting into Claude Chabrol's
Jodorowsky
hands.
Dune situation. No, it's
Yeah, yeah, if you will, and then it ended up getting into David Lynch's hands, which
it's just history.
went that way, and then now it's the way it is now. But I was almost thinking of kind of like, at one point, Kubrick was supposed to make a film about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And then, how Kubrick took years and years to develop stuff and whatnot. He saw Steven Spielberg's film
Schindler's List.
and Schindler's List, and was like, yeah, I can't make a better movie
Yeah.
than that. So
That,
guess I'm not
that
making a
had to
Holocaust
been
movie.
that had to have been like the,
You know?
the greatest praise he could ever, other than of course getting some sort of recognition from the Jewish community about the movie. I'm
yes.
sure hearing Stanley Kubrick say, "Well, there was no point in me making my Holocaust movie now."
Yeah. Yeah, in a way, fell into Spielberg's hands, I
Yeah.
guess, if you want to have a comparison. Or even kind of like, Kubrick spent years and years trying to make a Napoleon movie, and he was never able to. And
Yeah.
we've got all the archival stuff of all the stuff he tried to do to make it, and it just never happened. But this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Filmmakers start movies, and they even get up to sometimes start making a movie and it falls apart. Like they're in production and movies fall apart.
It makes me think. It makes me think about whenever, unfortunately, the day somebody like Guillermo del Toro dies, he's gonna have like 100 projects still unmade,
unfinished.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna have to look at.
Yeah, it kind of, the same thing happened with Orson Welles with The Other Side of the Wind.
Yeah,
where the movie was like half really made, or entirely made and needed to be edited, and he never had the time to do it, or could never get the funding to do it or whatnot.
Yeah.
Until years and years later. Where's our Blu-ray? Damn it! of that.
Well, it's gonna happen.
Nice. But that is.
These are
almost everything.
Yeah,
that's
everything. These are February releases.
Yeah. So and then there's gonna be a new 4K restoration of Madame Bovary, Betty, and Torment. If anyone's interested, because I think specifically I forgot to mention this. These Claude Chabrol, Inspector Lavardin films, I think were released by Cohen Media Group a few years ago.
Okay.
So they probably already have pretty new transfers to go on. Just because, those releases I think are within the last couple of years. If I'm looking it up correctly. Yeah, there's the Inspector Lavardin collection that came out in 2014 that has Chicken with Vinegar and Inspector Lavardin from Cohen Media Group. It's now out of print, so this is probably your best bet to buy those movies.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for our episode this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Cabzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Twitter at Chasing Labels or our Instagram at Chasing Labels Pod. Or you can also find me on my Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. And you can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the major players. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.